So let us move on to the next topic, which is called dual nature of particles. So basically, when we study radiation, so radiation can have a particle nature or it can have a wave nature. A particle can have a wave nature. Wave nature. So this is called dual nature. Dual means two, having a particle nature, at the same time it can have a wave nature. This was proposed by de Broglie. Okay, so why he proposed means nature in general loves symmetry. Okay, so you are saying like this, that if you take electron sometimes behaves like a particle and sometimes electron behaves like a wave. So suppose you take a ball is thrown with some speed, so it is a particle nature. Okay, so which type of particles we are talking about? Are we talking about a car and a truck? No, we are talking about particles which are moving with speeds which are comparable with the speed of light. Okay, which are comparable with the speed of light. For such particles you have a wave nature. So we are talking about alpha particles, beta particles, electrons, protons, which are moving at very high speed. Okay, so every moving particle will have a momentum. So when you say that that moving particle behaves like a wave also, that means that wave must have some wavelength. So de Broglie gave an equation to calculate this wavelength. Lambda is equal to h upon mv. mv means momentum of the particle, and h is the Planck's constant. Okay, a wave doesn't have a momentum, but a particle has a momentum. He kind of interlinked these two. Okay, so an electron sometimes behaves like a particle and sometimes behave like a cloud. In that hydrogen atom, if you take, you are saying that the electron is rotating in the first orbit. When you talk about as a particle, when you talk electron as a particle, then you say that it is moving in that particular orbit. But when it is going as a wave, we say that between the nucleus outer shell and the atom outer shell there is a gap. Atom diameter is 10 power minus 10, whereas nucleus diameter is 10 power minus 15. So there is a gap. So electron is moving as a cloud in that gap when we talk about as a wave. So Planck constant, as you know, is 6.6 into 10 power minus 34 joule second. Okay, mv is the momentum of the particle. So de Broglie wavelength, in terms of we have an equation now. If you know fast moving electron means, how you will get that fast moving electron? You have to apply a potential difference across the terminals, then only you can accelerate the particle. So here there is another equation which has basically come from this equation only. From this equation only it has come. Alright, so here suppose you know the applied voltage, you know that voltage is V. Lambda is equal to 12.27 divided by root over V. V is voltage here. The answer is in angstrom units. You should remember this expression to calculate the de Broglie wavelength. So originally de Broglie proposed theoretically that electron has a dual nature. Okay, sometimes it behaves like a particle and sometimes it behaves like a wave, and he gave that expression to calculate. Later Davison and Germer, they did an experiment and proved it. See, anything in physics you say theoretically is not acceptable unless otherwise you conduct an experiment and prove it. Okay, so the experimental setup of Davis and Germer is something like this. Electron beam is created. You see here, LT means low tension battery. So there is a tungsten filament is there which is heated using a low tension battery, and when it is heated, what happens is this tungsten filament battery is there, no, it is connected to another battery which is high tension battery, and here a plate type of system is provided in which a small slit is there. So here you see this is connected to the another high tension battery. This is a rheostat. Rheostat is provided because you can change the voltage as you wish. So between these two terminals, if you provide high potential difference, the electron beams, see this is a tungsten filament, so it gets heated up. So what will happen? It is charged, so these charges will move from here to here, but you have to create a strong electric field, which or you have to create a very strong potential difference, high potential difference. So this electron beam which is going like this, it goes and hits this nickel target, and nickel target is chosen. So obviously when it goes and hits, there will be a diffraction pattern. The electron will get scattered. So this is the theta is the angle of scattering. So it bounces like this, you know. So here there is a collector which is kept. Okay, it will sense where the electron has been hit. This will keep moving like this. This will keep moving in a circular fashion. So for different scattering angles, you will see this is a galvanometer. Okay, this is a galvanometer. It will measure the current. So for different scattering angle, you will get different currents. Alright, and they will keep on varying this voltage also. The voltage is varied between 44 to 68 volts. Okay, and for different scattering angles, they calculate the intensity of current. So this is what they do. Okay, and this small slit is provided so that the electron beams can go through that slit. Now here what happens, they have observed that at a particular angle of scattering and for a particular voltage, the intensity of current was maximum. Okay, it was observed experimentally. So if you calculate using our expression, de Bro's expression, lambda is 12.27 divided by root over V. This is angstroms. Angstrom means 10 power minus 10, and here we are calculating in nanometers, so 10 power minus 9, no? So that is why one decimal is shifted here. 1.227 divided by root over 54. So this is the theoretical value. 0.165 nanometers is the theoretical value. Okay, which de Bro proposed. So there is a Bragg's law. You can use some electron diffraction techniques actually. Okay, so using that techniques, when they actually calculated the lambda value, it came exactly 0.165 nanometers. So this is experiment. See, they did this experiment, all right, and they made experimental calculations. When they did experimental calculations, they got this value, and this is theory. See, both are getting the same values, no? So that is how this Germer experiment was proved. The Germer experiment proved that whatever de Bro said was correct. So that means when your wavelength is matching, you can say that a particle has both a wave nature as well as a particle nature. Okay, so observe this diagram. These electron beams are hitting this nickel target. Okay, and here diffraction phenomenon is happening. So here we have this Bragg's equation, Bragg's law basically. So this is the detailed diagram. Okay, so this is the crystal structure. So when it hits this nickel target, this is layer by layer we have to analyze. Okay, so when we look at this diagram, see here, this D is the in the crystalline structure layer to layer distance, which is 0.092 nanometers. Okay, now what are we trying to find out? So this is the beam of electrons which is coming as a wave and hitting it. Obviously it will have some lambda, so that we are trying to find out. So we have taken two waves which are parallel to each other, wave 1 and wave 2. So if you observe carefully here, between wave 1 and wave 2, in this direction there will be a path difference, and in this direction there will be a path difference. So that we are trying to find out. So this is the detailed sketch. Look here, this is D, and this we are calling as theta. So this is 90 minus theta, this is 90, so this obviously this angle will be theta. So in this triangle, this is D. Let us call this path difference. Let us say this and this length, they are equal. So this will, x will be the path difference. So from the triangle x by d is equal to sin theta, x is equal to d sin theta. Now this is only for this one. Similarly for this also you get another d sin theta. So it is 2d sin theta. So total path difference is 2d sin theta. So if you remember when I was talking about this, at a particular voltage you are getting peak intensity. Peak intensity means what? Constructive interference is happening here. So what is the condition for constructive interference? In waves chapter we have seen n lambda, where n is the integral multiple of like 1 to 3 etc. Okay. N lambda is equal to 2d sin theta. So we are taking the case where n is equal to 1. So lambda is equal to 2d sin theta. Okay. For constructive interference the condition was n lambda. Now we are dealing at crystalline structure, lattice structure. So if you see the detailed diagram, it is like this. Alright. So we have discussed here that when the scattering was 50 degrees, the intensity was found to be maximum. If you see this sketch for scattering 50 degrees and 54 volts, the intensity was found to be maximum. Basically this intensity was, it was like this. Alright. But the peak was observed at voltage 54 volts. What is this pattern resembling? Try to recollect. It was the diffraction pattern. Remember? See my previous videos. In diffraction patterns I have written on the screen, at the central there will be like this and then it will be dying down. This is what I have shown. Remember? So this is the diffraction pattern. So diffraction pattern you are observing, interference pattern you are observing, means definitely it is a wave. So it establishes the wave phenomenon. Anything you want to prove as a wave, you have to observe the interference pattern, you have to observe the diffraction pattern, you have to see polarization. So these are the parameters of the wave. Okay. So here de Broglie has given some an equation, but we are trying to experimentally determine whether that value is correct or not. So this angle, this total angle is 50. So half angle will be 25. If that is 25, this is 90. These are two parallel lines, 90. So this will be 90. So what is this third angle? Let us say it is 5. So 5 plus 90 plus 25 is equal to 180. 5 is equal to 65. So lambda is equal to 2d sin phi. D, I told you, D value has been determined as 0.092 nanometers. If you substitute these values here, phi is equal to 65, you get 0.166 nanometers. But if you remember, we have used this formula. I told you this formula. When you calculate theoretically, it is 0.165 nanometers. That means the concept of de Broglie is correct. That establishes that electron behaves both as a particle and as a wave. Okay. So this is the proof involved for the process. This is Bragg's law. Okay. So using Bragg's law we can determine the wavelength of a incident radiation. See, while explaining this experiment, I told you that using this high tension battery, you are creating a voltage difference between this point and this point, and thereby these electrons are accelerated and gains kinetic energy, right? But basically some work is done by these electrons. Okay, so let us derive one expression. So that potential energy is VQ, right? So you have applied the potential difference between 2 points, so the charge will move. Now this potential energy is converted into kinetic energy of the particles, conservation of energy. You can equate these two, and when you equate these two, you get an expression V is equal to root over 2e V0 divided by m, where V0 is the potential across the terminals. Okay, so this was the de Broglie's our equation. Lambda is equal to h divided by mb, or h divided by momentum of the particle. So h divided by m, in the place of v just write this expression. So finally you get another expression, h divided by root over 2me v0. If in any question they give you the potential difference between the terminals, can you find out the incident wavelength? You can find out using this expression. Lambda is equal to h divided by root over 2me v0, where h is the Planck's constant. Okay.